Karen.
Yes.
I think I might have found the ultimate guide to the psychic world.
Ooh.
And get this.
Yes.
She's trained at the legendary Arthur Findlay College, taught at the College of Psychic Studies, and even helped police with psychic detection.
Nice.
Now, she isn't just a medium, she is a master teacher of the metaphysical, a mentor to future psychics, and because why stop there, a university lecturer on creativity and storytelling.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, did I mention she's also the host of a top 1.5% podcast on spiritual development?
You did not.
So, yeah, I think it's safe to say we might be in good hands
All right.
on this one. Ready to unravel the mysteries of psychic, science, intuition, and even past life regression? Well, then stick around because this episode is about to take us deep into the unseen.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And our guest today is a powerhouse in the world of spiritualism, psychic sciences, and metaphysical teachings. With over 38 years, 38, yes, I read that right, of experience, she's trained at some of the most prestigious institutions in the field, including the world-renowned Arthur Findlay College and the College of Psychic Studies. Now, she's an evidential medium, an esteemed tutor, and a certified past life regression hypnotherapist. As a dedicated educator, she teaches psychic development, mediumship, and even remote viewing, helping students unlock their own intuitive abilities. Boy, are we going to be talking today.
She sounds very busy.
Yes.
A lot of work to do.
Now, beyond her work in spiritualism, she's also an associate lecturer at the University of the Arts in London and host of the Psychic Matters podcast, a top-ranked show that explores the depths of psychic and spiritual development. Please welcome to the show, Ann Theato. Ann, how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you so much. That was a lovely introduction. Gosh, yes, I am busy and I do an awful lot of things, don't I?
You sure do.
It's sometimes, it's easy to write wonderful introductions when the person has such wonderfully varied and esteemed experience. So thank you for coming on the show. This is a real treat for us. We're really excited to have you on the show.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Okay, a lot to talk about, so I'm just going to dive right in. You have dedicated your life to spiritualism and psychic sciences. Was there a specific moment or experience that awakened you to this path?
Yes, probably when I was in my 30s. I've always been psychic as a child. I didn't really understand at the time I was psychic, but looking back. And in my 30s, when I had children, they were young, I started to see what I would describe as shadows moving through my house. I'd see people's arms or legs or spirit animals, and I didn't know what it was. And I needed to go and get some tuition and some training for that. So that's really what spurred me on for the mediumship. But I've always been interested in it since I was a child, and I got my first tarot cards at 17. So it's been a long journey.
Wow. So it's either learn how to be a psychic or go to the psychic ward, right? One or the other. You chose the proper one.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I'm taking it all in.
Okay. All right. I just don't want to be the one hogging all the questions.
No.
Okay. So, I've got to ask the obvious question because you teach people how to become psychic or be more in tune with their psychic senses and things like that. Is everybody, we've heard of this, but we want to confirm it from you. Is everybody psychic? Everybody? Or there's just some poor schmo like me in a corner who's like, he's just dumb and stuck in a rut and there's no way that any psychic abilities are going to come to me?
No, everybody has psychic abilities. We're born with them. It's just that they are roundly ignored by civilization, unfortunately.
Right.
But everybody is psychic and everybody can be trained to use their psychic mind. And it's surprising, really. I get a lot of newcomers into I run a development circle every Friday for people who want to learn. And people just surprise themselves with what they're able to achieve once they set their mind to it, things that they didn't know that they'd be able to do. So,
well, I know it's a different thing, but I set my mind to moving the beer across a table just by me thinking about it, and it's never worked. So I don't know. I must not have anything.
Think harder.
So is it like a muscle? Say like you kind of tap into this when you're young, which a lot of people I think do, and then life happens and you get busy and you kind of forget about this way of looking at things in this life. Can you just kind of go back into it, or do you have to start like retraining your thought process in your mind?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Karen. I think what we do is we refine our ability to sense the world around us. And the greater focus we put on that, the greater our refinement. So, if you think about an artist who likes to paint, they will be very mindful as they walk through the world of how the light touches something, or the shape of somebody's face, or the way the breeze might blow the trees, and they'll be able to use that. They're refining their sense of connection to the world so that they can paint those things better and better. A surgeon might have a more refined sense of touch as he goes through, or he or she goes through their various operations. We become better and better the more and more that we focus on it.
Well, then, if people are interested in doing these kinds of things, and a lot of people, more and more people, are waking up to this interest, right? How can like what are the first steps that someone can take to try to move in that direction?
Take a class would be a step, but you have to be careful who you go and study with. So I would always be led by my intuition, my gut feeling. How does it feel? Does it feel right? Look on the internet, look for, good teachers, good classes, word of mouth recommendation, or just things that you personally are drawn to. So definitely take a class. But if you want to be more psychic without taking a class, then I suggest that you really, really, really pay attention to the sense of ambience around you, which is our sixth sense, because our psychic is our seventh sense. The
Oh,
sense of ambience is the feeling of the energy around you. So I'm sure both of you guys have perhaps walked into a room after an argument. You can taste it in the air. You can feel that something's not quite right. There's some people's homes you can go into and they feel really comfortable because of the ambience. You pick up on it. Nobody tells you this is a comfortable house. You sense it, you feel it. And some people's houses are uncomfortable, some are comfortable. They have different feelings. Different places have different feelings. And so we pay attention to the ambience all around us, like tasting, like a steak will taste the air with its tongue. We're sort of tasting, feeling into the atmosphere, the ambience around us as psychics. So that's what you need to do. Become very, very aware and trust what you're picking up as well.
I think that's the hard part.
hmm.
I know that sometimes I've had these experiences where I'm like, am I making this up? How do you let go of that disbelief in yourself and start to really trust that you are feeling something that's there?
Yeah, it's a great question, Karen. I think it's just practice, really, and knowing that there is such a thing as your psychic mind and your psychic ability, and trusting in that it will never let you down, ever, ever, ever. And it's just practice.
It's easier said than done in this world where you're running around everywhere. It's hard to keep your mind on spirituality, right? On finding uh, to practice, to find a way to develop these things, or to be really even be in tune with the ambiance, like you're talking about, because we are being demanded to move faster and live in a 3D world in a very, very specific way. So,
And we want proof of everything.
well,
We want like physical, tangible proof.
I do, but
We meaning you.
me,
Yeah.
we meaning me.
But a lot of people,
Yeah, yeah.
seeing is believing. There's that whole phrase. I mean, it's
No, go ahead.
But
Sorry.
I was just going to add on to that we have, of course, we've got our conscious mind, which we really need to do what you're saying, run around and do the school run, go to work every day, make our lists of shopping and do the laundry. We really need our conscious mind. But also, we must be encouraged to go within and look at what we call the implicate order, that which happens within, and be able to put the conscious mind to one side, because the conscious mind is not psychic. So if you're trying to feel something with your conscious mind and know something, and it's not going to work. Conscious mind doesn't know what it's doing. It's the psychic mind that you need to use. And it's that daydream state, that in-between state. You know, when you've been told off as a child for looking out the window at school,
Mhm.
I was always being told off for being in a daze. It's that beautiful sort of daydream state is where you want to be, and allow those thoughts and impressions to come in. So you have to, there's two sides of the mind, and you have to learn which side to use.
Yeah, I know that feeling all too well. Karen still to this day right now slaps me on the head. Okay, wake up. Stop daydreaming now. All right. So you studied at some prestigious institutions, which is, even just to say that is mind-blowing to me right now, that there are prestigious institutions that teach psychic development. There's so much distrust, I guess, of this type of thing. For there to emerge an institution like the Arthur Findlay College, for example, it kind of, it's anti-intuitive to have something like this. So w- how do you,
Actually, it's not anti-intuitive.
but in the
It's
3D,
anti-non-intuitive.
right, but in the 3D world. So
Yeah.
how did studying in institutions like this help shape who you are right now?
Well, first of all, the Arthur Findlay College employ the best teachers in the world.
Hmm.
So when you go there, you're going to get the best teaching that there is currently. And so, of course, that's going to shape and form how you learn and your knowledge about the topic. And they encourage you to try out all kinds of different exercises. And it's a very busy day when you go to the Arthur Findlay College. Usually I will go for a week at a time, and you'll be working from 9 in the morning till 9 at night with breakfast, lunch and dinner, of course, in between those times. But it's a very, very long day. It's very, very intensive learning. It's a most beautiful, beautiful place. If anybody gets a chance to go, it's absolutely fantastic. But they have, there is the Spiritualists National Union, the SNU, which it runs an education program, and that is the education program that I have gone through. In fact, I'm just almost got to what they call their qualification, which is the DSNU, the Diploma of the Spiritualist National Union, and it is literally the equivalent of a PhD. I've written 97,300 words of essays so far. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
it's an awful lot. Yeah,
Did we
there's a
mention she
lot
was
to
busy?
Yes.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping to be a teacher at the Arthur Findlay College myself one day. So,
Oh.
well, one day soon, hopefully,
All right.
if all goes according to plan.
So is that spiritual? Is that at all associated with the spiritualist churches, or is that a totally different path?
Can you ask that question again?
Sure. So there's at least here in the States, there's a,
Sect?
maybe a section of the population that goes to a spiritualist church.
Yes.
That is, it really is designed to connect during the services, connect with spirits in the congregation. Is it aligned with that, or is that is it a totally different?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes, that's absolutely right. The Spiritualist National Union, that's a religious organization and a charity. So that's what they are. And they've got this education program. And of course, they've got spiritualist churches, which people will go to. And in a spiritualist church, you can watch a demonstration of mediumship, where the medium will use their eternal consciousness to connect with the eternal consciousness of those who are in the spirit world and bring through what we call messages for the people in the congregation.
I love that term, the eternal consciousness.
Wow. Yeah.
So then what would you say are because when people think about mediumship and these kinds of things, there's a lot of immediate images or thoughts that come to mind. What would you feel would be the most misunderstood part of mediumship?
I'm not sure what you are asking. Can you ask that again?
Like any misconceptions? Are there any misconceptions that you'd like to dispel? For example, when people think about spiritualist churches, they think about table tipping and people who are maybe trying to, I don't know, you do evidential mediumship, so it's a little bit different. But there have been people that feel that mediumship is just people trying to take one over on someone, for example.
Yeah.
Right? How can someone be confident that when they go to a spiritualist church or they go speak with you or something like that, that they are truly in with someone who can help them?
I think it's really important that you've brought this up, because there is so much skepticism, especially in our field.
Mm.
And I personally have had to be very skeptical about this work myself. And it's only through me wanting to throw in the towel and say, this is all a load of nonsense, I'm not doing it anymore. But it's only through my own learning that I've come to realize this is a real thing that happens. And it's absolutely incredible. So how can someone be sure? Well, you have to go to someone who's had a lot of training and who knows what they're talking about. And you can only do that, as I say, by researching their credentials, really. For somebody who and also as a member of the Spiritualist National Union, we have a great code of ethics by which we work. So we wouldn't predict, say, for instance, from the platform. We wouldn't demonstrate where alcohol is being served. We all kinds of different things that we work to as our code of conduct. So there's a great standard. And I think bringing up the standard of mediumship and training for mediums is really vital. And if anybody's listening and they aren't able to go across the pond, as you call it, to the Arthur Findlay College itself, which is over in the UK in a place called Stansted, just by Stansted Airport, you can learn online with the SNUI, which is the Spiritualist National Union International, and you will get amazing tuition from the teachers there, and it's for international students, and it's only £25 for the entire year, and all your classes are free. So
Wow.
it's a really wonderful resource for people in different countries.
Can you say that
Write
again?
that down.
Yeah, because I'm going there right now. Oh, not right now, but right after this interview. What was that?
Check it out. It's called the SNUI, Spiritualist National Union International. I think the website might be .org.uk.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I will check it out. That sounds fascinating because in my search, the show's called The Skeptic Metaphysicians because I want to believe, but I need to wrap my head around it pragmatically. I need to understand, right? Now I want to feel it. I want to touch it. I want to taste it. I want to have some sort of knowledge of my own that can point to the fact that, yes, there is something else beyond the 3D world we live in. This might actually do it for me. So I'm excited. Thank you for that.
So
Yeah, I think we have to also really test our own what we're doing here. I remember just you saying that reminded me of something that I did several years ago. I stood up in a spiritualist church, and it was part of my training, and I was doing a demonstration of mediumship. And I stood up and I said, there's a gentleman here, and he's dressed in skins, like animal skins, and he's walking along the ice, and he's been hunting for seals. Now, I was in the middle of a suburban area in the middle of the UK, sort of middle-aged audience. And I just looked out thinking, nobody is going to know who this is. I must be going absolutely bonkers. This is a load of rubbish. And I think I'll go and be a secretary like I used to be. And what happened was somebody puts their hand up. This was my uncle. I said, he takes me to Greenland. Yes, he came from Greenland. He was a seal hunter. I mean, what are the chances of that?
wow.
Things like that really make you think, okay, right, there's so much truth in this.
Right.
How on earth can I pick this up? And it's only by finding your own truth can you deal with our own skepticism. But I think skepticism is absolutely vital.
Right. I mean, that's such a specific example too, right? Being a seal hunter, you wouldn't, it wouldn't come to mind at all on its own free will.
So you mentioned something when you were talking about the code of ethics that you follow, and that you don't do predictions. So I have a twofold question about that. As mediums, can you predict? Can you forecast things? And if so, why is it unethical to do that?
So when you're working under the code of conduct for the Spiritualist National Union, as a medium, you don't predict from the platform because it's not evidential. You're looking at a future that hasn't actually happened yet. So when we work on platform, everything that we bring through is from the mind or the eternal consciousness of, or soul, if you like, of the spirit communicator. And everything that they say is present or current or known by the person in front of us. Not always. Sometimes they can say things like, your grandfather had a watch and it's kept in a yellow box, and the person in front of you may not know what that is, but you give it anyway, and then it turns out that there is a watch that the person didn't know that's kept in a yellow box. There's that sort of thing, but that's not prediction. That's coming straight from the spirit world. But if I was to say to somebody, if you carry on going along your life path, I predict that you will become a policewoman one day, then that's not evidential from the spirit world. That's me giving a prediction.
And that could be the distinction between evidential mediumship and psychic, right? Someone who goes to a psychic.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Because the psychic is where we use our energy to work with the energy of the person sitting in front of us, and we are able to pick up information from that energy field, from that auric field, and give it back to that person. And yes, then you could possibly give prediction. If this happens, I see this. But again, nothing is set in stone because we've got free will and free choice and all of those things.
Sure. Yeah. So then when you saw the gentleman in the skins, the seal hunter, this is a fascinating question for me because I can't even imagine what it would be like. When you said there's a gentleman in the room. Is it just a knowing that he's there? Do you see that person in there? Is it a shadowy figure? Like how does it come to you?
For that particular example was in my early mediumship. And at that time, I could stare at a spot on the wall at the back of the church or center, and that person, I can see them like a movie in my mind, and I project that movie onto the back wall so I can literally see him walking. I can also become him as if I'm walking in those skins, as if I'm walking along the ice with him. And I remember saying to this girl, he calls to you across the ice, and it's this long, it's like a big long call like this. And I said, he tells me that you sing. And she said, yes, I'm an opera singer.
Wow.
I mean, that was extraordinary. But now my mediumship, after many, many years of practice and fine tuning and so on, now it's very subtle. It doesn't come to me where I see those images. Now I just see it as I might see somebody's hands in my mind's eye, and then I will ask that spirit person to blend their energy with mine, put their hands over my hands. And as they do that, then I know, oh, my wrist is broken. There's something missing here. I've got a missing finger, or, oh, and as the rest of the body comes into my awareness of their old physical body, then you know whether they're walking to one side, you know how old they are, you know what they pass of, you just become much more aware of them, and that information drops into your knowing.
Wow.
You said something that we've spoken to a lot of evidential mediums, and I've always asked how they see the person that they're connected with. I've never heard that answer where you look across to the wall and see it projected. I've never considered trying that, so that might be something I try next time.
Maybe.
I'm gonna, you try everything.
Yeah, we've heard people say it's like a movie, but in their mind's eye,
Right.
movie before. That's
And I think
more
it could still
common.
be in their mind's eye, but they're visualizing it, right?
Yes.
So that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And I had never thought of it that way. So thank you for that
Because
one.
if you're looking at it like a movie, you're using what we call our clairvoyance, which is our clear vision. So you can clearly see that image in your mind. I project it onto the wall. But I will also use my clairsentience, which is my clear feeling. How does this make me feel? What is this person feeling? How did they feel just before they passed away? And when you blend with them and you blend your energy with theirs, they put their face over your face, their shoulders over your shoulders, then you can walk with them. You can walk out. It's a little bit like remote viewing through their eyes, and you can walk with them through their life. You can see their house. You can walk with them to their place of work. So it's a most beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
So did he have a message for her? Or like, why was he there?
I can't remember what the message was, actually. Good point, good question. Can't remember what the message was. But he was related to her through family. I think he was her uncle or something like this, and that's why he was there.
But,
Yeah.
but then that brings up a good question. Overall, when you do these things, do people come because they actually have a message they have to get across, or is it just like, hey, showing you what can happen? Is there a point to that?
Yeah, what is the point? It's a good point. Good point. What is the point of mediumship? Well, the point of mediumship is to provide information that can be evidential to the recipient. We can't provide evidence. We can only provide information
Right.
to a person in front of us, and it's up to them to decide if that is evidential for them. So it's to show people that this flesh and blood life that we live with our conscious mind is not the only life, that life continues on, and that we came from somewhere before we were born and we return.
Okay. So it's a way of validating that, yes, indeed, there is
A
something
way of,
beyond.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
exactly.
So
Okay.
I imagine you have had an experience where someone just was very skeptical, doesn't believe in this at all, and you gave them some sort of information that just completely flipped the switch. Is that something that you've had an experience with?
Certainly there are people that have come to me that are very skeptical, and you can only do your best to provide information. Nothing really stands out. There's been some very beautiful spirit people who I've worked with that I remember, such as a gentleman who came to see me once, and I remember his son was here from the spirit world, and I remember I was thinking about this the other day, and I was described a few things that boy was or wasn't able to do, and I remember describing his arm. I said, as he shows me his arm, I know it's a different width to the other arm. There's something, and I know that my fingers curl like this on this arm, and I don't think I'm able to move the arm. I have to move it with my other hand. And he said, yes, that's exactly what he was like. So it is really beautiful. But of course, a lot of the information is not of us. So it's not retained in the conscious mind. It moves through us and out. So from spirit, through my spirit to your spirit. And so it's so we are a channel of information that comes out. So we don't retain it. It's not always easy to remember what you've just said.
Sure. No, it
Yeah.
makes sense because the information is not really meant for you. It's meant for the person that you're speaking to.
That's
That
right.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's right.
So a lot of folks that are listening to the show or watching the show are here because they are on an active path trying to awaken spiritually or raise their consciousness. Do you feel, I mean, I think I know what the answer is, but do you feel that evidential mediumship, psychicness, that kind of thing, are these solid tools to help them increase their spiritual awakening, or might they be a distraction?
When you say spiritual awakening, what do you mean by that?
I'm not 100% sure. Everyone has everyone has their own definition of what spiritual awakening is, but the way that I see it is going from the three-dimensional world, being completely entrenched in the day-to-day, making money, taking care of the family, whatever, and instead develop a spiritual relationship with who we actually are, our higher selves or the universe, that kind of thing. I would imagine that tapping into some of these senses would open up those channels more widely than not. But there are folks, some old gurus believe that utilizing these gifts tend to be a distraction from that spiritual awakening, that pure spiritual awakening. Which side of the aisle would you sit on that?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about those people who find it a distraction. I can only sit on the side of, I think it's absolutely amazing and beautiful. And sitting in the divine presence of all things is one of the most beautiful things that we can do, just to find that peacefulness within. And of course, we must always remember that this is not some flight of fancy that we've made up with our crystal ball. This is quantum physics. This is quantum science. And so if you want to explore it, which I'm doing intensely, you want to be looking at what quantum science is proving, what quantum physics are showing. There's some incredible experiments taking place across the world with synthetic telepathy, say, for instance, whereby scientists are able to put an implant into somebody's mind or brain that will make robotic limbs lift. You must have seen this on YouTube.
Yes.
So by your thoughts, you can make certain things happen. And of course, not just the limb that's attached to your body, somebody else's limb across the other side of the world. So this synthetic telepathy, they're trying to use it for military purposes, so that if soldiers are caught on the battlefield and they can't use a radio, or they can't speak, or they're, for whatever reason, they can think and get the helicopter to come and rescue them and give their location. So all of these things, this world could be the most fascinating place if we studied this properly. So places like the Arthur Findlay College, the Spiritualist National Union education program, this is where we're only at the very beginning. So I would encourage people to look at the science, especially the skeptical people. Look at the science. Let's explore that, because that's what it's all about.
I actually not long ago I brought up that same question to you, Karen, where I was like, I mean, how do I get my fingers to move by just thinking about it, right? And we talk
because you're not thinking about it. You're not consciously thinking, move the fingers, grab the paper. You just
do it, right? Yeah. So it's a great, and I've always wondered, like, I mean, you have sinew, you have muscles, but what electrical, like, is it an electrical charge that makes it move? I mean,
we have electrical impulses in our brain.
Yes, but how does it work? That's the magic.
See,
the question.
It's the how, and that's what scientists are looking into. They're looking into non-locality, say, for instance, which is where particles can affect each other no matter how far apart they are, without any direct connection or signal between them. So
it's scary, though, to think about someone being able to move robotic limbs in a different, on the other side of the world, because then it's like, it's like a puppet master almost.
People use it now, like it'd be how you use Wi-Fi, right? Drones are being
yes, but can you imagine if you had
totally different,
a couple prosthetic legs, and all of a sudden you're up and walking and unintentionally? That's kind of creepy.
That is kind of creepy, but kind of cool at the same time.
Yes, I mean, there's amazing. That's the thing. There's always two sides. There's the what incredible things can you do with these, and then how can they be misused?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do spirits ever communicate, not just to share, hey, there is an afterlife, but rather they have messages for the world that they feel it's really important for me to come through and say, hey, knucklehead, stop this, or this is going to happen? Or is it exclusively just there's more to life than just this?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question.
in your experience? In
my experience, of course, I work in evidential mediumship, so most of the work that I do is giving messages to people from a platform or one-to-one. But I also am a trance medium and work in trance with giving voice to channeled consciousness. It's not something I actually speak about. This is the first time I've spoken about it in public, but there are messages that come through from the consciousness that I channel, and it is for the greater mankind, I suppose, but it's not something that I would want to go out and put into the world, because if someone can't even understand at this moment the psychic mind in its most basic form, how are they going to even take me seriously when I give them a message from my channeled consciousness? The hive mind. So it's something that is between me and the spirit world. It's work that I'm doing behind the scenes. Maybe one day, if I feel like I'd like to share it, then I will. But yes, there's lots of things like that. I mean, there's the teachings of Abraham. You must have watched Esther Hicks. Absolutely fascinating.
So we've spoken to people that have different experiences with this question I'm about to ask you. Do you see or feel spirit everywhere all the time, or is it something that you have to tap into?
No, I don't feel spirit all the time. I do tap into it. Sometimes I can be going about my business and occasionally become aware of spirit in the room with me, or a certain person has come to visit for some reason. I don't always know who it is, but I switch off. I don't go around the world. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to move in my life. A sensing spirit everywhere. So no, I don't sense unless I'm working. I'll turn it on when I'm working.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine if it's, it'd be like Superman and hearing all the voices at the same time. So.
You'd be tired as well because it's energy. So we're working with energy. So it would get exhausting.
It would drain you, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now you teach spiritual development classes and things like that, right? Is there one exercise or practice that someone listening or watching right now could do to quickly strengthen their own intuition?
Let me see. It would be, for me, sitting in the silence. Let me just see. If it was me and I wanted to strengthen my intuition, I would set the intention first, always. My intention is to strengthen my intuition. So by that, what do you mean? You want to be able to trust what you're picking up? Is that your intention?
Sure. I think everyone would have a different intention, but for me, sure. That if I was to sit down and if there was an exercise that I could do to help me strengthen my psychic intuition abilities, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend sitting in the silence of and the divine presence of all things. So moving into a space whereby the conscious mind becomes still. Our thoughts of every day, shopping lists and things will still come in, but we don't pay attention to them. So just focus on the breath, focus on the breathing, focus on the sensation of the energy of you, and just feel into the energy of everything else. It's like the divine presence is all I can say. You can call it God, you can call it divinity, you can call it the natural energy around us, whatever you like, because it's that you're going to use when you're working with your intuition. So you need to know what it feels like first so that you can move into using it. So it's sitting in that beautiful power. We call it sitting in the power. And so when you come to use your intuition, so say, for instance, you need to make a decision. Shall I buy this shirt or shall I buy that shirt? Shall I go to that party or shall I not? What you do then, when you need to use it, is put your hand on your solar plexus, on your tummy, and feel. Use your clairsentience to feel. What is the correct decision? How will I feel if I go to that party? How will I feel if I stay at home? You'll tell yourself what the answer is. You'll know what the answer is because that's your intuition speaking loud and clear. You don't go to that party because you're not going to have a good time, or you definitely go because it's going to be great. You can feel it before you go anywhere. I mean, it's refining that sense, which is what I said at the beginning, learning how to refine that sense. And you think of the ninjas in Japan and Eastern culture, they refined this sense of intuition so strongly that they would know whether someone was coming to kill them way before they even arrived on the scene. They can feel it, they can sense it from the ambience, from the energy. And that's what you're trying to refine.
I think I might be more intuitive than I think.
I think you're very intuitive.
Because I always know when you're angry at me before you even came into the house.
Before I even know I'm angry?
Right.
So when I walk in and say, what have you done?
I know way before that. I'm in trouble. I don't know what I did, but I'm in trouble. Well, you do a lot of things, not just evidential mediumship. We talked about remote viewing. You talked about past life regression. Is evidential mediumship really what draws you? And if so, what made you venture into remote viewing and past life regression?
Yeah, it's just an extension of using the conscious mind. So at the moment, I'm running a course. I'm teaching it after this interview, actually. It's called The Traveler. And yeah, I know, it's really cool. We're doing past life regression. Tonight, the session is moving to the spirit world to meet our friends and our loved ones, to take our consciousness to that. The session next month will be astral travel. How can we physically leave our body and move into the astral body and travel around in our consciousness? We've done...
You now have my attention. That is the one thing everyone who's listening knows. Astral projection, astral travel is my thing, and I have it. It's so much my thing that I've never been able to do it.
Oh, you're kidding?
No, because I want to do it so badly. I want to do it too badly. That's the problem. I'm just too into it, so I need to just chill out. And I'm trying to chill out, but it's still like You like what
Yeah.
you like. It's hard to do, but
Oh, it is amazing. I did one last week, and it was you can walk through walls and move through windows. It's just
of
amazing.
course you can. Yeah. ah,
I'm
ah.
gonna have to go to one of her classes.
I'm absolutely gonna have to go to one of her classes. Yes. I so then what so there's a difference between astral travel and remote viewing, yeah?
Oh, yes.
And what would you classify those differences as?
Well, the remote viewing uses the psychic mind. So you're conscious, you're sitting upright, you've got your pen in hand, and you send your psychic mind through all of time and space, and you pick up information about what we call the target. That might be somebody standing somewhere, might be something in a box across the other side of the world, it might be a photograph, and you write down all your perceptions about it. So that's what remote viewing is. And astral travel is where you are in a deep state of hypnosis almost, that state between sleep and consciousness, just that hypnagogic state, just on the edge,
Mhm.
and you're able to move your consciousness into the astral body, which is an exact replica of your physical body, and you are able to literally get up out of your body and move around the world. You can fly, you can create things, you can wish for stuff, you can visit people, you can do all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, that's the difference.
And that might be why I'm having a hard time because that little sliver of space between being awake and asleep is so small for me. When I
Mm.
lie down and put my head in my pillow, I'm out. Right there.
Yeah, see, there's your mistake. If you're trying to do it at nighttime when you're trying to go to that's your sleep. That's where
Okay,
you go to sleep.
that makes
You
sense.
need a special place in your home, even if it's on the I was doing mine on my floor. I'm pointing like you can all see my floor.
Wait,
Over
wait.
Um,
there.
Let me remote view over there.
Now here's the thing, here's the top tip for astral traveling. Don't be tired when you do it. When you're tired, you need to fall asleep. Be really rested because you need an active mind and a rested body because your
Mm,
mind needs to be alert to where it wants to go.
right. So basically, what you're saying is I'll never get to astral
You'll
travel
never get to
because
do
I'm
it.
always so exhausted.
No, you will. So the best time to do it is when you've like if you wake up at 4 in the morning to go to the bathroom or something, you go back to bed, that's a good time to do it then because you've had your night's sleep, you've woken yourself up a bit to do your business, you've come back to bed and you've still got a couple of hours. That's the perfect time if you want to do it in your bed. But I would also moot the suggestion that you use a different space in the house um,
S-
to do it in. And also, you could use some beautiful sacred oils. I was using galbanum yesterday. It's an absolutely incredible oil.
I'm writing it down.
Frankincense.
Galba-
Frankincense is a great oil as well,
Galbanum and frankincense. Okay, I'm.
and myrtle is another one. So we'll be using myrtle in my course, The
Why?
Traveller, to
Why
travel
would you
the.
want to use my Aunt Myrtle? I don't understand. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Um, okay. You said something that caught my attention, and that when you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do your business, maybe that's the time that's a perfect time to practice. It sounds like maybe as men get older, the universe wants them to astral travel because
Sounds like it, yes. I think it's a good idea.
right, because they're constantly waking up 4 in the morning
Well,
to
I
go.
think it's all people because I've been having my hot flashes, and those wake me up at 4 in the morning.
All right. Well, what do you see the future of spiritualism as? Do you think this is going to take off and just be super accepted overall, or is it always going to be like a niche?
I think it will be accepted the more that science is able to back what we've already been saying for a long, long time. And it's not just us as a little group of psychics. This is Eastern culture. This is centuries old, what we're talking about here, spirituality and using the conscious mind. So it's not just a modern thing.
Mhm.
But I think now that we live in a more open world where we're able to talk outside of religion and speak honestly, and science is able to prove certain things, then once science backs it, I think we may be able to make some strides. Not forgetting, of course, that science tells us that a bumblebee can't fly, but patently it can. So, can't trust science really, but always.
I've always been weary of those scientists. I don't know.
Yeah, but I do see this whole thing, if you think we have got the ability to connect to the hive mind of the most incredibly intelligent people that once lived here. We can contact them, we can speak to them, we can channel their information. We could be using that to make an incredible world. You couple that with AI, artificial intelligence, reality, what do you call it when you wear a headset?
Virtual
And you go in,
reality.
yeah, that sort of stuff. And I was thinking, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if I could take somebody to the spirit world through maybe a past life regression experience where they can also use a virtual headset and see perhaps their loved one animated through AI, but with me speaking and them meeting. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could go on
Wow.
to make a most beautiful, beautiful world.
Yeah. But then you'd have to have an implant in your head to connect to the virtual. So I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
Then
But,
become transhumanism,
but telepathy is telepathy. You don't need any
Yeah.
implants for telepathy.
Well,
So
that's
that's the
true.
thing. That's what we would like to prove.
Oh,
We
no.
want science to prove next.
That I can handle. The
I
implant, I don't know about
I would
that.
think
Yeah.
it would be hard if you have these abilities to connect to really ever want to disconnect, to go do the laundry or to do the school drop off. I think,
But that's the rub, right? That's what we're here for, is to
I
bridge both,
know,
right?
but it just sounds like a place I'd rather be sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need you here, Karen. So don't even think about it. But
Hmm.
okay, if someone listening or watching right now feels like they're experiencing some sort of psychic awakening or something like that, but they're scared or unsure of how to move this thing forward, what words of guidance could you offer them?
Well, what I would say is, and when I first began speaking about my own experiences when I was 30 and I had children, I was seeing all these shadows. I was perturbed, put it
Yeah.
that way. But the spirit world are the most loving, beautiful force of nature. We'll call it nature. And they just come to make their presence known to us, to be present, to let us know that they are around. So there is absolutely nothing to be frightened of. It is a bit disturbing when you see a shadow, when you see something, when you hear something, when you don't know how you know something. But please be reassured, it's perfectly normal. It's quite normal. It's okay. It's all right. There's nothing to be frightened of.
Oh,
See, I love that. I love that. It's
I-
a perfect way to sum this all up. And that's one thing that we try to do with this podcast is to really reach all of those people out there who are having these experiences and think that they're the only one. We want them to know that this is normal. So thank you for saying that.
yeah, and thank you for what you're doing to help so many people with getting in terms come to terms with these kinds of things.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, if and I know that you have a really super popular podcast that we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on real quick before we end the conversation. Tell us about that show. What do you cover on it?
Thank you. That's really kind of you to mention that. It's
Of
called
course.
Psychic Matters, and I teach people how to use the psychic mind for free. So you don't have to come to a class; you can listen to the podcast. But I also interview I do my own solo shows, but I also interview experts across the world to bring you their wisdom and their advice and their guidance. And it's all about pushing forward the boundaries of human consciousness to redefine the significance of living. So you will find there's an awful lot of interesting episodes on there. Not all about psychic and mediumship. I interview a soul midwife who sits with people who are dying to help them transition to the next world. There's all kinds of different people that I interview on there, people who do meditation and Reiki that you mentioned earlier. So yeah, all kinds of different things.
Well, I happen to love your show, so I would encourage anyone who is curious about any of these kinds of things to check out the show because it's actually it's got a lot of information. It's really well done. So thank you for what you do. Is there anything that you want to make sure that anyone that's listening right now or watching gets? What, let me rephrase that question. Is there anything that you feel that anyone listening or watching right now really needs to know about evidential mediumship or remote viewing or past life regressions or anything that that you feel important to get across to the audience? What would that be?
I'm moved to say don't feel alone with it, because it can be a very lonely existence. My mother was 90 years old before she asked me what I did for a living. So
90. Wow.
Wow.
yeah. My friends I have known since I was 10 or 11, they're very lovely friends and I love them dearly, but they don't understand this world.
Sure.
I have made friends in mediumship circles and psychic circles, of course, great friends. So it can be very, very lonely, and especially when you have nowhere to turn to or classes that you can't afford, or which is why I've got my podcast. And it's not just my podcast, there's other podcasts out there where you can learn, and knowledge is power. Always. So the more that you know, the more you understand, the more you will understand yourself. So please know as we've already said so beautifully, you are perfectly normal. And it's actually the world that is abnormal, who don't accept our gifts. You know, scientists feel that just because we've got a sense, it has to have a locality: eyes, sight, ears for hearing. But when you've got a psychic sense and an ambient sense, that doesn't have a locality, so they say it doesn't exist, but it does. Einstein will tell you it exists. So, you know, don't feel alone. There's plenty of, especially with YouTube and podcasting and so on, there's plenty of resources where you can go and get some tuition, and then you will be in a better place to understand yourself. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to end the show.
Mhm.
If someone wanted to reach out to you to learn from you or to just learn more about you, what's the best place for someone to do that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. They can go to my website, anntheato.com, ANNTHEATO.com.
Perfect. And then if you misspell that or you don't have a pen in hand right now, we're going to put our a direct link in our show notes. So you'll need to do is just go to the show notes and hit the link. It'll be there directly. So you can be in contact with Ann without muss or fuss. And this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on the show. Hopefully we will make this one of many to come.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for having me. It's been lovely talking about something I'm so passionate about.
It's been a pleasure.
It has.